Good morning everyone. Today we will discuss about development of duodenum. Duodenum development is endodermal and the proximal part of the duodenum is developing from the foregut and the distal part develops from the midgut. Here you can see this purplish part, it is the first part and the second part of the duodenum up to the opening of bile duct. Up to this part is developing from the foregut and beyond the opening of the foregut and the third part of the duodenum and the fourth part of the duodenum. So beyond the opening, the second part of the duodenum, after opening of the common bile duct, this second part, third part and fourth part of the duodenum, this brownish part, it is developing from the midgut. So duodenum proximal part is developing from the foregut and distal part is developing from the midgut. Artery of the foregut is celiac trunk and the artery of the midgut is superior mesenteric artery. So proximal part of the duodenum, this part is supplied by celiac trunk and the distal part of the duodenum, it is supplied by superior mesenteric artery, which arises at the level of lower border of L1 and celiac trunk arises at the lower border of T12 or L1. Now, due to clockwise rotation of the stomach and due to rapid growth of pancreas, head of pancreas, and the duodenum, which was initially in the midline position, then it is shifted to the right side. So initially duodenum was in the midline position, and due to rotation of the stomach, clockwise rotation of the stomach, and here is the head of pancreas, and due to rapid growth of head of pancreas, this duodenum is shifted towards the right side. So here you can see it is midline and it has been shifted right to the midline, and also it assumes the C shape. Here you can see this is C shape. Then now the fixation of the duodenum. Initially duodenum, between duodenum and posterior abdominal wall, the mesentery is present, that is called as mesoduodenum. So the peritoneal fold between posterior abdominal wall and duodenum, this is called as mesoduodenum. And then after this fold of this, here you can see this is the fold of peritoneum or the mesoduodenum, and this mesoduodenum fuses with the posterior abdominal wall. Here you can see this is posterior abdominal wall. So because of fusion of this mesoduodenum and the posterior abdominal wall, they both fuses and then gets absorbed, and now the duodenum become retroperitoneal. So by this process is called as zygosis, the fusion of the posterior abdominal wall and the mesoduodenum, and then finally it gets absorbed. This process is called as zygosis. So by the process of zygosis, the duodenum become retroperitoneal. So most of the part of the duodenum become retroperitoneal, but the first part of the proximal half of the first part of the duodenum, it has mesentery or the mesoduodenum will persist. Where it will persist? In the first half, in the proximal part of the first part of the duodenum, this mesoduodenum will persist, and this part is shown in the barium meal X-ray of the abdomen. It is seen as a triangular shadow, that is called as duodenal cap. So this part, here you can see the barium meal, and in this you can see the duodenal cap. And why the duodenal cap is seen? Because of this, in this part fold of peritoneum, that is mesoduodenum, will persist in this part of the duodenum and seen as a duodenal cap in barium meal. Now duodenal atresia or duodenal stenosis. So what is duodenal atresia? If there is a complete obstruction in the lumen of the duodenum, or there is absence of the lumen of the duodenum, then it is called as duodenal atresia. And if there is a partial occlusion of the lumen or the narrow lumen is there, then it is called as stenosis. So during development, what happens? Initially the lumen of the duodenum is present. Then what happens? The lining epithelium of the lumen of duodenum, they will proliferate and they will fill the lumen. In the first diagram you can see the yellow one is the epithelial cells which has been occluded the lumen of the duodenum. So yellow one are the proliferated epithelial cells and they are forming epithelial plug, and the lumen of the duodenum has been filled up by these cells. Then what happens later on, these cells will disintegrate and then the lumen will be formed. Initially here the vacuoles are formed and they will fuse with each other, and then the lumen, normal lumen has been formed. This is called as recanalization of the duodenum. So initially there will be epithelial cells of the lumen of the duodenum will proliferate, then they will fill the lumen, then these there will be recanalization of the duodenum. So if the recanalization is incomplete, and it will lead to narrow lumen of the duodenum, and this is called as duodenal stenosis. First diagram is showing the normal process of the recanalization, and if the recanalization is incomplete, then that will lead to narrow lumen, and this is called as duodenal stenosis. And this stenosis will produce partial obstruction to the passage of food, and most commonly it affects the third and fourth part of the duodenum. So stenosis is most commonly in third part of the duodenum or the fourth part of the duodenum. So it is after the opening of common bile duct. If there is any obstruction which is after the opening of common bile duct, then the vomitus will contain the bile. So the infant will present with the vomiting few hours after birth, and the vomitus contains the bile. So we can differentiate the duodenal stenosis from congenital hypertrophic pyloric stenosis, because in congenital hypertrophic pyloric stenosis the obstruction is proximal to the opening of bile duct. That's why the vomitus doesn't contain any bile. So if there is non-bilious vomiting, then it is congenital hypertrophic pyloric stenosis, and if there is vomitus which is containing bile, then the obstruction is beyond the opening of bile duct, and most commonly it is due to duodenal stenosis. And this stenosis most commonly is in the third or the fourth part of the duodenum. Now coming to the duodenal atresia. Duodenal atresia is the most common type of the intestinal atresia, and it is due to failure of the recanalization of the duodenum. In the third diagram you can see the complete non-recanalization of the duodenum that will lead to form atresia. Here you can see the first three diagrams, they are showing the atresia A, B and C, and the D is showing the stenosis. So it is the most common type of intestinal atresia, and due to failure of the recanalization of the duodenum, and most commonly it is distal to the opening of hepatopancreatic ampulla. And if it is in the prenatal life, the pregnant mother having polyhydramnios, because baby is unable to swallow the amniotic fluid, and it will lead to excess of the amniotic fluid, and condition called as polyhydramnios. And clinically infant will present with the bilious vomiting, because vomiting will contain the bilious bile, and this vomiting begins a few hours after birth, because this obstruction is distal to the opening of the bile duct. and also there will be the distension in the epigastric region. Because proximal to obstruction, the duodenum and stomach will be dilated, and that's why there will be distension in epigastric region. And in X-ray of the abdomen or in the sonography, double bubble sign is seen. Because proximal to obstruction, the proximal part of the duodenum and stomach will be dilated. And this duodenal atresia is common in infants with the Down syndrome. Here you can see the duodenal atresia. This is the site of duodenal atresia. This one. Here is the duodenal atresia, and proximal to it, the part of the duodenum and stomach both will be dilated. So air will be filled in these both parts, and the double bubble sign, 1 and 2 bubbles of gases are seen here, because baby will swallow some amount of air, and it will lead to double bubble sign. So quickly we revise the duodenum, that duodenum is developing from the foregut and midgut. Proximal part develops from the foregut, and distal part is developing from the midgut. Proximal to opening of bile duct, it is developing from the foregut, so it is supplied by celiac trunk, because the artery of the foregut is celiac trunk. And distal to the opening of bile duct, the part is developing from the midgut, and artery is superior mesenteric artery. So the it is supplied by both arteries, celiac trunk and superior mesenteric artery, and developing from foregut and midgut. And initially it lies in the midline, and due to rapid growth of head of pancreas and due to rotation, clockwise rotation of the stomach, this will shift towards the right side. Now it has mesentery, that is called as mesoduodenum, which anchors it from the posterior abdominal wall. And this mesoduodenum will disappear by the process of zygosis, where the mesoduodenum and posterior abdominal wall fuses with each other, and that they gets absorbed, and then it becomes retroperitoneal. So most of the part of the duodenum become retroperitoneal, except first half of the first part of the duodenum, which contains the mesentery, that is called as mesoduodenum or the lesser omentum. So we will say the lesser omentum is attached to the lesser curvature of the stomach and the first half of the first part of the duodenum. Okay, and in this first half of the duodenum, because of this presence of mesentery, and because of absence of the circular folds, the duodenal cap is seen, because this part is seen as a triangular shadow in X-ray or the X-ray abdomen in barium meal. So this duodenal cap is seen in this region of the first part of the duodenum. So this is the duodenal cap in the X-ray or the barium meal, and it is because of here the mesoduodenum is present in this part. Now coming to duodenal atresia and stenosis, if there is complete failure of recanalization, then it will lead to atresia, and if there is partial recanalization or the incomplete recanalization, that it will lead to narrow lumen or the duodenal stenosis. This duodenal stenosis is mostly distal to the opening of the common bile duct, or it is in the third and fourth part of the duodenum. So the vomitus will contain the bile, and it can be differentiated from congenital hypertrophic pyloric stenosis. In that condition, vomitus doesn't contain any bile. Now the duodenal atresia, it is most common type of intestinal atresia, and it occurs due to complete failure of recanalization. And also here in this condition, then the condition will involve the most commonly the distal part of the duodenum. That's why the vomitus will contain bile, and infant with the bilious vomiting, which start few hours after birth. And proximal to the obstruction, the stomach and duodenum will be dilated. That's why there will be double bubble sign in X-ray or sonography. And this duodenal atresia is usually associated with the Down syndrome. Here you can see the double bubble sign due to common condition of the duodenal atresia, in which the proximal part of the duodenum, which is proximal to obstruction, and stomach both contain gas, then it will lead to double bubble sign. So this is all about duodenum. Thank you.